I go with Miami because I think they're going to get off to a hotter start. The first 6 games they play, they should be favored in. They start off with home against Jacksonville, home Bills, at Seahawks, home Titans, at Pats, at Colts, right? They'll be favored in all 6 of those games.
Sure.
Colts are indoors, fast track. Tyreek Hill doesn't have to get any faster, but he will in that dome. Now, look, they do have a tough stretch coming down towards the end of the year. They end the season with at Packers on a Thursday night, home Jets, at Texans, home 49ers, at Browns, at Jets, the last 6. All right. But I think if they split with the Jets and they go 3-3 during that stretch, I think they'll get to that 12-5 record to where it wins the division.
And if I may jump on that point, so I actually have a note here because I agree with you. Down the stretch is important because last year they had 4 home games and they went 2-2. And you could either face another team like the Cleveland Browns, maybe, right? Versus having to go to Arrowhead Stadium and play Kansas City round 1. So wild card weekend. So that's a big difference, 2-2 in your last 4 when all those games were at home. All of them were at home.
100%. And I think they'll get a home game, right? You go 12-5. I think you'll probably get a home game. I don't think they'll get the number 1 overall seed because I think that's going to go to somebody else we'll get to here shortly. Tua and Tyreek get paid. Moister back in the backfield with Achane. Defense got a lot better with Jordan Poyer. And also, you got Calais Campbell for like $4 million from Atlanta.
Yep.
So that I don't necessarily – him and Christian Wilkins play 2 different styles of football, but I think Campbell doesn't seem to get any older, even though he goes up in age every year. It's unbelievable wherever that guy goes. He produces.
How old do you think he is? How old do you think he is?
I think he's like 36, 37.
He's 38 years old.
Okay. So the guy's a freak show. He just goes everywhere and produces. Great locker room guy. So I think, they win this by 2 games over the Jets, and I think they'll get a home game, which is important. Listen, I think it's going to be between them and the Jets, but for me, I think it takes 6 games for the Jets. Look, I think the Jets will be, not to put them in the same realm, but I think the Jets will be kind of the Kansas City of last year's playoffs, where they're going to go on the road, but you don't want to see them.
You don't want to see them. Yeah.
You absolutely do not want to see them coming to town because by that point, I think they'll have figured it out. All right, moving on. AFC West. Denver Broncos 8-9 last year, missed the playoffs. 5-4 at home, 3-5 away. Plus minus win total 5.5. Eighth hardest schedule this year, and their point differential last year was minus 56. I was going to call them San Diego. The LA Superchargers, 5-12, missed the playoffs last year. 2-7 at home, 3-5 on the road. Plus minus total 8.5 wins. Second easiest schedule in the NFL coming up this year. Their point differential last year was minus 52. Obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl against the 49ers, 11-6, 5-4 at home, 6-2 on the road, which I thought was interesting.
Yep.
Plus minus total 11.5 wins, 12th easiest schedule this year coming up, and their point differential was plus 77. And lastly, the Vegas Raiders 8-9, missed the playoffs. Vegas was 6-3 at home, 2-6 away, plus minus total 6.5 wins. 9th hardest schedule in the NFL. And last year, their point differential was +1. So they were average. All along in games, but average. So I'll kick off the AFC West for me. I still think it's the Chiefs because I wanted to pick the Chargers or the Raiders just to be different. And you're shaking your head at me, and you'll make your points in a second. But the Chargers and Raiders have easier schedules, okay? I'll give you that. I don't like either one of their receiving cores. Obviously, you take Devontae out of Vegas, Brock Bowers, okay. Raiders don't have a quarterback either, right? So they don't have a quarterback. Nasty defense for the Raiders, 100%. Wilkins plus fill in the blank. Who's
Max Crosby?
Yeah, Crosby. Studs. Okay.
Yeah.
They're going to be in a lot of games. I don't think they're going to be able to score any points.
Nope.
Now, you go to the Chargers and you go to Jim Harbaugh. Okay. They have an unproven running back and a guy coming off of major ACL surgery. Chargers, and well, I should say Harbaugh in general is going to run the ball and play defense. Their offensive line, they drafted Joe Alt. That's going to shore up the offensive line. Their defense is aging. Okay. They have Bosa and they have Khalil Mack. Pass rushers, when they get older, not great. And especially with all the injuries that Bosa has had. Look, I wanted to pick either one of those teams. But I think this year with the Chiefs, they're going to have, they're pretty much bringing everybody back. I think Xavier Worthy is going to be Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think he's going to be the deep threat that Patrick Mahomes needs for that offense to be clicking on all cylinders. I think Justin Reed, too, is going to really take a step up this year, kind of being the quarterback of that secondary. I think George Karlaftis, I think he goes for 15 to 17 sacks this year, even though his second year last year he had 10.5. With him, Chris Jones in the middle of that defense, I don't potentially see them getting worse. Now, do I think their defense is going to play to the level that it was last year? No, but I think the offense is going to make up for it. So I think that the Chiefs maybe get the 3 seed in the AFC, 3 or 4. I think with their strength of schedule being what it is, they have a lot of tough games. They're home for the Ravens opening night. I think they go at the 49ers at one point this year. So their schedule's tougher than the Raiders and the Chargers. Yeah. I just don't see the Chargers and the Raiders having the firepower needed to beat the Chiefs for the division.
Yeah. Look, the AFC West right now with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, it's like comparing the AFC East in the early 2000s with Tom Brady. It's just one of those things where a lot of these teams, they just know that coming in every single season, they're fighting for the wild card. It is what it is. They have to accept it at this point because the Chiefs have a systematic approach that absolutely works. Again, if I'm going back to the GOAT and the New England Patriots offense and defense of that time, what was it? It was a bend don't break defense. It was guys that could catch the ball, could protect Tom Brady, and that's exactly what they have in Kansas City. They have a guy that can throw the rock better than anybody in the league. They have versatile weapons now. Obviously, Hollywood Brown's a little bit banged up, but he'll get back into the mix. They got Xavier Worthy in the draft. They got Travis Kelce. They got Sky Moore, Rasheed Rice. They got Isaiah Pacheco. They got tons of weapons, but defensively is where they're going to hold their ground. And we saw it last year. Everybody talks about how good Patrick Mahomes is, and he absolutely is. But there were times during last year where the defense was more relied upon. Let's call it is what it is. Patrick Mahomes did not have the best year. But when it comes down to the defensive side, you got Chris Jones, Karlaftis, as you said. They got just good, solid guys that just know the system of Steve Spagnuolo. And it's a bend, don't break type of defense. And it's just the way that they run their team, the way that they run their organization, the way that they know how to get guys to buy into their system and buy into what they're doing and buy into their winning makes me think that they can win back to back to back. And now the Chargers so I have the Chiefs at 12-5. With the Chargers, there's so many question marks, right? You think about it last year, you think about, wow, if they really kept their squad the same, what would they become? And I think when you realize that over time, especially this year, I think Justin Herbert's going to have a rough time. He's obviously dealing with that plantar fasciitis, issue with his foot. And Jim Harbaugh's new to the system, right? New to the organization. So they're going to have to get acclimated pretty quickly, right away, to be honest with you. And then Gus Edwards is probably your best running back, right? And it's is Gus Edwards going to put you in contention as far as, top 10, top 15 running game in the NFL? The answer to that question is no. Are the wide receivers, more than capable of catching the ball? No. You got Quentin Johnston, who's probably the guy that catches the least amount of balls, has the worst catch radius in all football. You got Jordan Palmer or Josh Palmer in the slot. I just don't think that the Chargers have done enough, this offseason. I think they actually took a break and was like, well, we got Jim Harbaugh, so we're good. We can sit back. We can, draft offensive line, Joe Walt, and we can, look at Rashawn Slater as a huge building block for us on the left side. But when you actually look at the totality of that team, there are tons and tons of question marks. And let's flip to another team that has a lot of question marks. You named it, the Raiders. They have a quarterback. They have a guy in Devontae Adams who could be a number one wide receiver in the NFL if he was on a different team. And he's at age 31. He's still putting up numbers left and right. But I don't trust who can throw him the ball. Gardner Minshew, sure, he threw, glimpses of spotlights and highlights in Indianapolis. But is he a guy that you can rely on game in and game out? Aiden O'Connell? No. Like, these teams did not do enough. Broncos, they're starting Bo Nix. They draft them in the first round. They have Cortland Sutton as their best wide receiver for, him. And yes, Cortland Sutton's decent. He's not great, but he's decent. But, there's not enough talent in this division. And I'm telling you right now, the Kansas City's Chiefs are going to keep riding that division hard because they know they can. And it's just like the AFC East when Tom Brady played against all those shitty teams in the early 2000s. That's just a fact. And the rest of the AFC West has to look at it and say, we got to fight for a wild card spot because we have absolutely no chance. No chance.
Yeah, I believe me, I wanted to. I wanted to do something different, but I think when you look at it factually, there's just not enough firepower in that division yet to be able to catch. To be able, all right, if you're in a gunfight with Kansas City and it's high scoring, I don't think that's. I just good luck with that. And like you said, it's a good comparison. Who's, it's the Larry Bird quote when he went into the 3-point competition. He came into the locker room. He's like, all right, who's coming in second? That's Patrick Mahomes. That's Andy Reid. And they're saying that to the rest of the AFC West.